unbelievable. I'm going to have to completely. No, we won't. We'll roll. I'll just have to go back later and um, rekey all the pages. Welcome to Social Media Fridays. Each week we meet to wind down and consider the things that happened in social media in the previous 7 days. With us today we have Masataki Wasa. Masataki is webmaster of wasaweb.net in the UK, and he's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense and the Google Plus Help community. Tony McCreath is Adelaide's leading SEO. He runs a website in Australia. He's currently in Sheffield in the UK. But he runs a website in Adelaide called websiteadvantage.com.au. We're all tired today, at least I am anyway, from the 100th episode of Dumb SEO Questions. Hey, wasn't that an epic event, guys?
Yeah, very big day yesterday. Went very well.
Fantastic. Anyway, let's have a look at our first question, which is titled by Tony, Views Are My Own. It's an interesting subject. How tightly should organisations control their staff's online social activities? It's an article posted, social media policies, when are they taken too far? And it's on Social Media Today.
So this one's about organisations. I think in particular it was government or education, where they reprimanded a doctor or something from someone in politics posting about politics because it's against their policy. And eventually they got the right to post as long as they said it was their views only. So do these organisations, do sometimes they go too far on stopping people doing anything and saying stuff?
Well, it's always been a thing. I can remember when email first came out and people were so anal about they used to have these huge sig lines about half a mile long. You may not do this, you may not do that. Bullshit. People just do whatever they want. And I mean, companies shouldn't be restricting their employees. They should be encouraging their employees' activities. Each one of them is an advocate for their company. It's hard enough to keep up on social media. Heavens above, how good is it if someone wants to do it for free? What a deal! Yeah.
I'm surprised that in this case it was a university. One place where you would expect people to be able to have opinions that may not be popular, that may not, go along with the social, what is accepted socially, for example. There are reasons why universities are research institutions, and they pursue, if you like, the truth. It may sound a bit corky, but academics do believe that what they do have value, and for that, in order for them to function and do, they should have a right to pursue and express their research. So I just don't know what happened, because it seems really weird. Obviously,
sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's probably the IT department and lawyers, so it probably wasn't educated people.
yeah, it's probably some busybody who went into a seminar somewhere saying, "Ooh, how you manage your online reputation, making sure that people people get the corporate message, and you're projecting the right corporate image." I mean, and then they came back and saw this tweet and said, "Oh, this is bad," jumped on it. So yeah, I mean, it is a bit weird, isn't it? Especially in university settings, if people are using company time and company equipment to post things that's not particularly good about the company itself or reflects badly on the company, then obviously that's a different matter. Here it seems to be that, as I think it was reading law at university, tweeting about policies of the Home Secretary, the Interior Ministry in this country, and for some reason that really was caught by the webmaster, and that had to be taken down. It seems that seems completely disproportionate. I mean, I do not think the person in this instance had been speaking as if a spokesperson of the university or the department. This person was clearly speaking. The Twitter account was in the name of the individual who had listed as a place of work the university. But most, I think, people would understand when a Twitter account is an individual account. And if it's an individual account, you'd assume that is that person's account expressing that person's views and not necessarily that of the employer, the organization, or the institution in this instance. So I just didn't get why they've drawn up these kind of policies, especially for a university to do so. I think that goes against, if you like, the whole reason of universities, where you do pursue knowledge, and as I said, a bit corky, but the truth. And if you're preventing people from communicating that doesn't seem to be a very good way of doing things. It's against the ethos. So I really didn't understand it.
But I guess if it's someone who's, say, a director or a CEO, what they say is implied for the company or organization, but different levels, like, say, a student, you would assume that they're saying their own thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's. I suppose the test is whether what you say can be reasonably interpreted as having material effect on the institution or the business. And if you're CEO and then tweeting about certain things, that may, let's say, trigger a huge collapse in the share price. I mean, then that's an issue, right? Even if you did so at personal capacity as a person, if your tweet leads to that kind of damage, and if it can be reasonably seen as leading to that consequence, then that's another totally different matter.
Yeah, we've seen in the past and covered disasters by people tweeting on behalf of an organisation and not being monitored. So it's it's good that there's monitoring going on, but they've got to get the level right. And if it is obviously representing the company, you want to do that sort of level of cut it off. But if it's less obvious, probably a chat with the person first, and avoiding this sort of publicity that we've, like this article.
Yeah, I mean, in this instance, I don't think it should have taken place at all. That chat should not have occurred in the first place. It shouldn't have been deleted in the first place. And you know, obviously we're not aware of the full details, but from what I've read, it just does seem totally inappropriate, disproportionate action on behalf of some busybody in the university administration. Who seems to have nothing better to do than to monitor academics' tweets.
They sometimes get bored in IT.
Yeah, I just don't get it. Because universities now have this huge thing about making sure they have publicity, have high profile. So they go, oh, hoo-ha about their academics writing in newspapers, for example, or becoming prominent. So on radio, television, they like that, don't they? Because they would get exposure. So they say, lecturer or professor in whatever at institution. Institution then comes up on screen and print. Yeah, and they trust the academics to go and do their jobs, as it were, on print and broadcast media. Yet they don't seem to be able to trust academics to do the same on social media. Beats me.
Yeah, like someone who's a lecturer, their reputation can be enhanced by their presence in any public media and encourage more students and better students to want to come to a place there. It doesn't make sense to try and censor them.
Yeah, and my view is that they shouldn't be. I mean, academics should have high degree of autonomy and freedom.
I'm having trouble here. Boris won't let me use my mouse. He wants me to pat him. Will we go on with the next?
Yeah, let's go to the next.
Okay. All right. So we've covered one. Actually, this is good, but it's embarrassing for me because I had a look at the Twitter analytics. The title of this post on this Social Media Fridays community on Google Plus is Twitter opens analytics access to all users. Initially, they released this about 3 weeks ago, and it was only to users in the US, but now it's open for everybody. And this was an article on Marketing Land, and comes with a recommendation from Tony McCreath that if you're on Twitter, you should have a play. Well, look, I took Tony's advice. I went to Twitter, pulled up my details, and it was zeros everywhere. It was a forest of zeros. No impressions, no clicks, or whatever it is. Retweet. So I was a bit disappointed. I would have rather not got my stats. I thought I was very popular on Twitter, but nobody likes me apparently.
So maybe some people shouldn't have a look.
What's your Twitter handle?
Mine, Jim_NUNRO.
Oh, I've got 0.3% engagement.
Have you guys met Boris?
What was that?
To meet Boris? Yeah.
You've heard him before.
Oh, no, he's run away. Never mind.
Ooh, engagement rate 0.1%.
I guess Twitter can be a very low engagement because of the speed that your posts go through.
Mm-hmm.
This was available to advertisers, or in my case, I looked on it because I'd set up what do they call them? Cards. So now they've just, I guess that was just so that they could test it on a smaller group. Now it's everybody, and it does provide, if you've got any data to surf through, it does present some of it quite good. I'm trying to find. There was a good demographic one I remember seeing before on the sort of people who follow and engage with you. Looks like they've reorganized it a bit. Oh, there it is. There's a followers section, so you can see the countries of people, who else they follow, their interests. So yeah, quite a bit of demographics you can get out of this, which must be valuable to marketers to work out how to talk to their audience.
Yeah. Though I have to say, I'm much more impressed by the Pinterest analytics data.
Oh, I've not looked at that. What's that like?
It gives you a lot of information, about. So if you have a business account, and link to a site, you could see how many times images from your site have been pinned and repinned.
Oh, yeah. So even outside your own Pinterest account, what other people are doing related to your site. Yeah, that'd be valuable.
And then you can see, and they're ranked as well, so individual pins would be ranked by top pin impressions from the last 30 days. You can see with the boards, and then you can see the repin data, what's been repinned, and on which board, how many impressions, how many clicks, how many likes, the pin type, if it's a rich pin or not.
Which I guess Twitter could do as well. Imagine if Twitter reported any tweets that link to your website. That would be interesting.
Yeah, and for your own boards, so not necessarily everything from your site. In Pinterest, you can see the demographics, and it's quite interesting because it gives you country and language, gender, and even the audience is divided into the metro areas. So essentially US cities. So it's very interesting.
Okay, so we've exhausted this one too.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly new, so it's just more available.
I'm totally disconnected. Should I proceed to the next question?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. It's no problem. It's just that I'm a bit of a dill at the best of times. And after last night, I feel like I'm half drunk. I'm not drunk though, I promise. This was an infographic from Mayor Bhagat from India on the dangers of social networks. As infographics go, I mean, what the world needs, of course, is yet another infographic. But I thought this was a fairly reasonable thing. And Tony had a comment on it, so I guess we'll start with you, mate.
Yeah, so this is designed to promote a virus protection thing. So hence the title, Dangers While Social Networking. And so the bottom line of this infographic is buy our software to protect yourself from them. But they've done some research, I guess, to get stats about the sort of problems you got to worry about. I'll tell you what, but I can't see on my small screen.
Mr. Taki?
It seems reasonable.
Okay, if you'd like to see this graphic, you'll see it titled as Dangers of Social Networks on the Social Media Fridays community on Google+. Now we have another post from Tony McCreath, what you're doing wrong with social media and how to fix it. It was an article on, again, Social Media Today. Are you on commission from them, Tony? Muted. Still muted.
No. Takes a few pen presses to unmute. No. But if they're listening.
All right. Well, how about this article? What was your take on
it? Not a massive article, and I posted the kind of takeaways from it. That don't overdo your hashtags, and if you do them, focus on things that are trending or something that someone would Google, which I think I misuse my hashtags. I kind of use them for to highlight a meaning behind a post or something. The other one was pick the channels that fit. We've talked about this before. Don't try and be on every single channel and then be useless on them all. Pick ones that actually where your audiences are and work at it. And the other one is you build relationships. You don't shout at people. You've got to start interacting with people and talking to people and getting them to join in. So that's about it.
What about you, Mr. Taki? Okay. It's a bit surreal today, but of course this is the post that we've been aiming for. This was John Mueller's revelation this morning that they're dropping authorship completely. Which is a great surprise to some. What do you think, Mr. Taki?
I think, well, it was coming for a while, wasn't it? Because the progressively the authorship information, and by that I mean the profile picture, avatar, being shown, and the byline, and so on and so forth, that's been dialed down, and they've been gone for a while now, and it's completely gone, as it were. So in that sense, it was coming. I think there's a gradual shift away from it. And we can speculate as to why that might have been the case. And I think that that's where the really interesting bit is. I think the decision itself, while not foreseeable in the sense that I was surprised that Google has decided to remove authorship information and completely. I thought that it would still use it for personalized search, and I was wrong. It's an interesting step because it seems to indicate that this experiment has not worked. The idea of using Google Plus profiles as a mechanism of, as it were, confirming someone's identity online. Obviously, you could argue that it's now it became divorced from reality in that the Google Plus profiles no longer require the use of the name that you commonly go by, as it were, the real name clause in the policy that used to exist. That's gone now. So you could say that Google has abandoned the idea of creating an identity platform based on your real-world existence and linking that, making that as a linchpin of the connections between you are represented fully, wholly, integrally in the Google Plus profile, including your name. There will be a bidirectional link between your profile, which represents you, and anything you have authored, because you declare that yourself. Things like piece A on external website, web entity, has been authored by me. I am claiming that because I am linking from my site, from that thing, to my Google Plus profile, and the Google Plus profile is pointing to that site, and the Google Plus profile represents me, the person, the real person. Now that sort of as it were, the chains were broken here and there. Google Plus profile arguably no longer needs to represent the real person, or the real person wholly or integrally. So that element has gone, and now you are left with the idea of that. Okay, we may not actually know who the real person behind the profile is, but we know that profile claims to have authored this thing, because there's a bidirectional link. And people may follow that Google Plus profile not knowing who that person actually is, other than as a name which could be fake on Google Plus. So in that sense, I think it's a reflection of the, I suppose, the failure wouldn't be the right word, because I think it's not exactly that. It's just that it didn't perform, I think, to the degree that Google might have liked. And the cost of maintaining it, or because take-up has been relatively low, I think.
Level of low quality.
I wonder what Google's going to do about all of the two-way links between Google. Won't they become now reciprocal links now that they're no longer validly used for authorship?
Yeah, and it's still a follow link to Google Plus if you have it on your site.
Maybe Google Plus will get punished.
I don't think so.
I've always thought it was a bit, I don't know if it's arrogant the word, that Google decided that they were going to be the overlord of how you can define yourself as being an author.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that this is going to go back to your standard semantic markup and more general working out who's an author, and it's not in control of Google. So you can still kind of say, you can still put these signals in saying, I'm the author, but you can say that via your Facebook profile or your LinkedIn profile. And I think that should have been how it was in the first place, not you have to do it by a Google Plus profile. So
Yeah.
I think that might start being more significant now, instead of this forced linking that Google made us do in the first place.
Yeah, I don't think Google has given up on the, if you like, the general idea of establishing authorship, in the sense that, making sure that person X has written that thing. Google Plus, if you like, was a special means of establishing authorship, because you have profile between you and the thing that you have written or you have created. That was the Google Plus profile. That's now gone. So Google will, I think, probably will try to find a way to establish that this person has created or written so many different pieces across different places. So it's an in general idea. So if you like, more in more absolute terms, as it were, not in sort of not through the means of a Google Plus profile. So I think that will proceed. It's far more complicated to establish authorship, I think, in the general sense, because Google will have to be reasonably confident that it is written by someone, and have to have a reasonable amount of confidence in the sources and signals that they're using to establish that authorship. So yeah, it's going to be interesting in that respect.
Which it may relate to this knowledge vault that's recently had a bit of publicity, where I guess Google's being a bit more open on that they're not just scraping all the schema data and extra markup, but they are scraping data left, right, and center, and then analyzing it to decide trust on whether they actually trust that data and at what level. And so authorship could easily merge into that sort of stuff, that they will, instead of trusting us to do rel author, they will be looking at multiple signals and pulling them together to go, I really do trust this person is the author, via a whole host of signals, not just us SEOs setting up a single one.
I'm starting to digress a little bit. I'm trying to think of those little treasure troves of information they used to have on a search engine results page, with authors in them. Like it was like insights or valuable something or other, or
What, in-depth articles?
What was it called?
What do you mean, the in-depth articles that appears at the bottom of the search results?
Yeah, that's it. In-depth articles.
Hmm.
The thing that struck me about those, and maybe a contributing factor with the dropping of authorship, but the thing that struck me about those is that almost all of those authors didn't use authorship. And most of the major news organisations didn't use authorship either. So I guess that it came down that 99.99% of authors authors registered under Google weren't actually the authors that were producing the real content that was being posted on the Wall Street Journal and Forbes and so on.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a possibility?
I think that's a very good point. If you are an academic writing a piece in a journal or perhaps on even your own blog, you're not going to they're not going to suddenly go and I have to insert rel equals author. They'll say it's published by me. People in the field will know me. Or if it's published on an online journal, I don't think online journals will be asking their contributors, so what's your Google Plus profile? They're not going to do that. They're going to publish the article by, a banner saying by so-and-so institution. And, of course, peer-reviewed journals such as those would have more credibility. And should have more credibility. And those people probably would not have bothered with authorship. I mean, and authorship in this instance is the special authorship mediated by Google+. Obviously, there is concept of authorship and authority, generally speaking, right? Now it's for Google to establish that, not through some mediate means with Google Plus profile in between. So I think that's going to be the point.
Does that indicate that the in-depth articles was already going beyond the authorship link and trying to algorithmically determine who are the true authors of quality articles?
Yeah. Now I think if you look at in-depth articles, most of them are from renowned, or at least famous, widely known publication sources. So, and the interesting thing is that publisher, rel equals publisher, is going to stay. So it may be that we're seeing a more stress on the, as it were, the credibility and trustworthiness of the platform, of the particular publication. Rather than trying to establish authorship where, based on potentially a fake profile or self-declared so you can manipulate it. You can ask some other guest to write something and then put your own authorship. Now, does that really count as being authored by you? Legally speaking, yes, because you have the right to it. A piece of writing, you contracted someone to write it for you, and you agree terms that that it's going to bear your name. But is it really authored by you? Or if you have, again, intellectual property, I think was an issue, because if you write something for a company or an organization, and that's part of your job, the intellectual property doesn't belong to you, but it belongs to the company or to organization. Now, should the authorship tag be placed? So there have been quite a few issues, and of course there are multi-author articles and posts.
Yeah, it reminds me of when authorship first came out, and the discussions about it tipping the balance, that the authors are now back in the power and publishers are being pushed into the background. And so maybe the authors have misused that power and lost it, and it's gone back to the publishers.
I think generally speaking, very broadly speaking, publishers have interest in maintaining the integrity and the quality of their output. Most publications will have editorial teams, and they have processes to make sure they do fact checking, for example, things like that. So you would expect the output on reputable publication to be, in a sense, for lack of a better word, better. It should read better because it's been copy edited, it's gone through the editing process. It's probably more trustworthy and accurate because they would have been fact checking, background checks, not of the author but of the article. And obviously publications have interest in making sure that they remain credible and trustworthy.
Yeah, because a publication is bigger than a single author, so they can amass a bigger reputation and level of trust that if you're an author and can get into that publication, you can inherit some of that trust because you've been allowed in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, the balancing the balance of power, if you like, is different, isn't it? If you're a really good author, novelist, then you have a very strong position. If you are well-known academic in the field, then you carry the authority that you have. Your authority is not dependent on necessarily even where you work, whether it's a university research institution or where you write. Once you've established yourself as a leading expert in a field, then it's you. But until that point that you establish yourself to such a degree that you become well known as a person, as an authority in a particular area, you are dependent on, I think you're more likely to be dependent on the credibility of the platform, of the publication.
So can we have a prediction for 6 months down the road?
I think something else will appear, maybe more to do with the semantics and agent rank type stuff. Probably in a very different, it won't be about author photos or things like that. It might be more of a hidden ranking boost.
It'd be interesting how schema will progress in that sense. We talked about it yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, with David, it's always schema. So I think, well, the whole direction everybody's going towards the schema stuff, and or just semantics in general, understanding the content more deeply, and I think authorship has to be in there, the knowledge of the association of an article with an agent, and so over time, confidence in these signals are going to improve. So we'll see something happening, but in a different form.
Yeah, in a more generalized fashion.
Like knowledge graph sidebar stuff, maybe in that sort of form. Maybe only for the people at the top of the rung, the most trusted people. We'll see.
Well, with authorship, I think Google has a problem. If they really want to use it in their ranking, they need to verify that with Twitter, Facebook, or other social media, and at the moment they can't. So they cannot have, to me, a real confident level that the person that says he is a person is that particular person, right? You need to have multiple web documents to make a good adjustment about that.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think that's where publications come in, because you can sort of delegate the task of establishing the actual authorship to publication. I mean, if you're a scientific journal, and if it says this is written by A, B, and C, you trust that. If it's a newspaper, there's, this piece has been written by so and so, you'd be very confident that it is written by so and so.
Yeah, it's the confidence level rather than the Google Plus profile thing saying this is so. It's going to be more of a confidence level. So if you're published in trusted websites, then their confidence of your authenticity will be a lot higher.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm screwed.
Yeah, we're all doomed.
And tell me, do you think this is another rivet drilled out in the gradual dismantling of Google Plus?
I don't think so. I mean, for people who jumped into Google Plus because they thought it would give them ranking boost in organic search, and they thought authorship would do it, then obviously, it's there would be no more reason to be staying on Google Plus. But I think what is going to happen, and obviously it's all speculative, and I have no idea what Google is thinking. This came as a surprise, and many things that they do come as a surprise. I think Google Plus will be a sort of the sharing platform. It won't be the overall overarching umbrella thing. I think it will be, as it were, a place where you share things, you connect with other people. That's it. Instead of trying to make it into the sort of the very big thing, it's going, I think, and to me, it would make sense to cut it down in size and make sure it does what it does well. And it's a great thing. You can connect with other people. You can share things. Those are essentially the two things that I think that I do on my Google Plus, and that's not going to change the fact that authorship's gone. Well, I just have to remove the author link from my pages because they're now using it as. Are they interpreting it as part of a schema? As semantic author or not? I can't remember. I should reread the post by John.
I think that rel author is going to be ignored.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you said rel author tag is going to be ignored. It's just treated as a normal link from now on. But that surprised me because you got rel me. So it is semantic stuff. It's just not in the schema thing or RDFA. So maybe they're simplifying and let's go back into the fold.
Yeah, more.
I think it belongs to the micro formats.
Yeah. So yeah, it still gets picked up on structured data testing tool, not as authorship, not as author information, but still by the markup. If you have rel equals author. So
there is an entry in schema for author, but they didn't fill it in yet. So
yeah, no, I have that item type.
Schema does come from micro formats.
Yeah. So then I'm going to remove rel equals author just to avoid any possibility of conflict with schema.
So, actually, on the schema thing, it mentions rel author is HTML5. So it's not because schema doesn't. Schema is what is it? Prop equals.
Yeah, property and types. So it's a person
Yeah.
type, and then you can put it as
So
property.
and it says you can use it interchangeably. So schema's saying that it will also understand the rel author as if it's the same thing. It's an alias.
Yeah. So I'm going to remove it to avoid that conflict.
And there's the other thing of Google supporting this question mark rel equals author as part of the URL, which was just way out. That was way out left field.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I don't know. I think in a sense this was inevitable. Was interesting while it lasted. And let's see what happens next. Yeah, I wonder how many people will get out of Google Plus because of this.
There's probably quite a few profiles which were just created to get authorship photos and never did anything.
I wonder if that. I mean, you're possibly right. But what is a certainty is that if you just do a search on profiles, the number of blueheads, you know, in any letter of the alphabet, it just amazing. It looks like about, you know, almost the full content. Because if you scroll down, it's just bluehead after bluehead after bluehead. These are just accounts that nobody uses, and yeah, it makes you wonder where all those users are. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
So maybe they'll do a cleanup, but then sometimes a bluehead is a real person. They just don't want to share the picture.
Well, I think the thin end of the wedge for Google Plus and authorship and so on was when they first of all allowed people to have any name at all, but really it was when they pulled in the people from YouTube.
Oh yeah. Or any other Google account thing like Gmail, where they were kind of forcing or making you accidentally get a Google Plus profile.
Yeah.
Just a correction. Schema.org is based on microdata, not microformats.
All right.
Now, what was that industry body that is sponsored by Bing that I heard of last night? Nobody. Dwayne put it into the chat.
It was schema.org, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. I must listen to the 100th episode of Damasio Questions, but I must admit I did listen after I uploaded to SoundCloud. I wanted to test that the clip was okay, but I couldn't stand it. That introduction was about 15 minutes. I got about 7 minutes in. I just couldn't listen to myself anymore. Something appalling. Really stuffed that up. But anyway, well, I've got 2 years to practice for the next one, and I'll do better next time.
I'm going to change my name to Anthony so that I'm first in the list and not last.
Now it looks like actually we've still got one viewer. I'm going to put a link in the. I think we've covered this subject adequately, or do you think we should canvass it further, guys? Yes, okay. I'm taking that as a yes. So we will close this hangout now, but in the Social Media Fridays community, I will make a post and put a link to this conversation so that you can join us. The hangout won't be live, it won't be broadcast or filmed, but you're more than welcome to join and have a chat with us. Because really, we want to find out why people watch us.
Because we don't want to know.
Okay, thank you very much anyway. If you can't join us, thank you for watching us today. It's your interest that makes what we do worthwhile. And we'll be back at the same time next week to do it all again.